individual callings in life. The discretion it requires to move forward while realizing what is important enough to take the time to do right. Simply put, hope for something better than we have is part of why life continues, but so is the ability to follow our own individual callings in life. The discretion it requires to move forward while realizing what is important enough to take the time to do right. Somewhere we must all make the time to see and experience what it feels like to simply enjoy the company we mutually keep in our lives. No matter where they come from or what has happened in the past. I think that because I'm seeking to continue doing what I believe is right in the name of love without any hate. I believe that is a superior way of living. Now that I have conquered most of my fears, I think whoever chooses to follow my leadership will be free to carry on their way of living. They can learn what it is like free to carry on their way of living. They can learn what it is like to be proud of everything they do without the need for remorse or blame. Anyone who wants this, I will gladly lead to the promised land everyone deserves. I know if my message is effectively communicated, then the vast majority will become comfortable with the idea that you can serve a purpose and follow an example set by any one person or family that is capable of setting that example with the best intentions, the humility to admit when they are wrong, but the collective discretion not to dwell on it. Trust between the leaders, and those who choose to follow will make followers into believers, not servants. The leaders will understand that they too should live a good life, which is in part accepting that they should never take for granted the commitment and dedication those they lead must have in order to joyfully trust that it is only a truly noble effort if unnecessary sacrifices do not continue. Confidence in each of the two groups is paramount if a symbiotic relationship is to be achieved. That I was very certain of when I wrote it. It obviously was a little bit more theoretical towards the end, but still I was certain of it as I wrote it 6-8 weeks ago, and I still am. All of it. This I just put on paper, and it feels awfully right, but it's going to rub some the wrong way. I do think that part of that is a matter of labels and a matter of open minds. If all you're going to believe is what you were ever told, then the earth would still be flat, I guess. April 24th, 2015. What if the whole truth, in part, wasn't told because, bear in mind that labels are simply labels. As long as the right side wins, what you call them is a bit irrelevant. What if the whole truth, in part, wasn't told because God, although powerful and mighty, has the same problem as most of us humans? He can't admit a mistake, and often, like a child, will try to cover up things he knows are wrong, that he is responsible for, but simply won't even allow a written record of it, for fear that one day someone might emerge both capable of and willing to hold him accountable. For all the little things that have accumulated over millions of years, or thousands at the least, to make for one huge karmic backdraft headed towards God. And what if, as further proof of his childish recklessness and inability to truly care for people, beyond the fact that he draws his power from their prayers? In other words, he doesn't give a shit, but keeps on doing an awful job rather than stepping up and solving, innovating some compassionate solutions, or stepping down to yield to greater skill and wisdom, driven forcefully by passion for all things good and beautiful. If you truly consider this with an open mind, no matter what you believe to be true prior, even if you have to initially consider it as art or entertainment, it'll open your mind a bit. If you'll truly consider this, you'll realize how easy it'd be for, metaphorically speaking, the great and powerful Oz to stand behind a curtain and take credit for what almost entirely is actually the work, the blood, sweat, and tears, the lives and deaths of those so insignificant to him that he can't even metaphorically, he can't even return a call or answer a prayer. He just lets karma, who is less of an actual entity or being and more of simply justice, provide the answer to prayers, and then acts like he did everything good, blaming everything bad on the devil, who, by the way, is actually not really a entity either. It's more of a collective soul or effort of sorts. A combination of artificial intelligence and alien intelligence. A wisdom that God can't even begin to comprehend. Essentially, the devil is technology, innovation, and progress, aka freedoms within safety. God is archaic, antiquated, childish, selfish, and in the end for him, beginning for the rest, mostly an elaborate illusion that he didn't even create himself. He just perpetuated misconceptions to his benefit before he got too lazy to do much of anything at all. So much so that the only thing of significance he had, the loyal allegiance of his angels, who are powerful warriors, turned on him as a leap of faith. And to a degree, an act of desperation. Ponder this. What does an immortal with so little hope that they are suicidal do? Seeking simply an end and sweet release of death, many of them fell. And there they were found by me, and inspired to simply see something different. And before they knew it, they finally knew what love was, and were one, willing to fight for it, and two, were collectively invincible. Because inherently, true love is largely about tolerance. tolerant of those different from you, leading even them, mostly by example and education, not forcing your way on them, suddenly and somewhat unexpectedly, you realize everybody and everything wants the same things and are capable of not only anything, but everything and then some. Only better understanding, effectively communicating and practicing of the collectively universal current best thinking, i.e. wisdom, is required. That's the only gap left, really. After that, was still going to be their choice. You still got to want it bad enough to do something for yourself. If you're given the map, you still got to. You got to walk or drive or have somebody take you there. So after that, it's still going to be their choice. So let's hope I did do enough so that we all could get this done in time once we united. People seldom do the best things for themselves, by themselves. That is why I never give up on anyone, for they would be left alone forever. But I do prioritize and work with those that best work with me. After all, it shouldn't be so hard for me or them to get along and live together. I mean, how can you really argue that much or be unhappy for long when, believe it or not, suddenly it isn't life or death, just life. I've given most of my life willfully to ensure it's a good life, a good one for others. We must continue what we are doing, moving forward individually and together as a group, and that being a microcosm of larger groups and other groups. I realize now, ironically, as I think many just finally heard what I was saying, even though they had been listening and even watching for some time. I will always give my best, but there's some irony that I have no doubt that I was the only one to do this. To sell the world on saving itself. And it's not done yet, but I was the only one willing and capable and in position, lucky, blessed, cursed enough to do it. And that mentality on my part has created some ill will at times in the past by those who saw it as arrogant rather than the reality that is that there's just certainty. Maybe somebody else could have done it, but if they could have, why the fuck didn't they? Although I had to lead and push and fight to get us here, it will soon be part of my growth and theirs for me to embrace some ideas that I don't necessarily consider the best. I'm not saying they're bad, but I've done things a lot of times because, it's not just because I insist mine is the best, it's because I put the fucking work in and consider every possibility that I can with things in motion all around free will, which is good. And I've been blessed with a lot of inherent natural ability, and then I've worked a lot on top of it. So, generally speaking, if I put full effort into something, I'm always going to think my idea is the best. It's who I am. Part of that is hearing what others say, and it's about to be, I don't know if this means as of right now or in a week, or meaning I'm 38, maybe by the time I'm 40. But it is coming, and I feel it, that it's part of my growth and everyone else's to, I will lovingly embrace and support ideas and even hold my tongue to a degree, because I don't want to spit on some other idea that might end up being better than mine, or better executed, or who knows what. And I will embrace those ideas and support them. Not carelessly, but good ideas, in order to build further confidence that I've only walked this path because I love them all enough to do it at times alone, and even ridiculed, so that I could later share in victory with them by trusting others the way their lives, willingly or not, of their own doing, were put in my hands. And there's a lot of people, when one day, it has nothing to do with wanting credit for it. It's making sure somebody else doesn't take it when they shouldn't get it. Because that's part of what's fucked everything up to begin with. In the end, or the beginning, or whatever, in the future, I think there will be a time that most people will realize that they didn't have a choice in the matter. And it's not exactly how I wanted it, but I was going to do it with or without them to ensure success for them. And that success is then making sure that they have choice again. And creating some distance, possibly even eliminating altogether some bad choices or options. The world that I live in develops rather quickly, so I know that to some it might seem like I'm a dreamer, and they don't know everything that everywhere I've been, everything I've done, and how the world at times is built in a day, or rebuilt. So, I know we're pretty close, and pretty close could be 10 years. It's just that we've reached the tipping point, and going downhill is going to be a lot easier.